Welcome back. We're going to move on to knowing and engaging your audiences when doing storytelling. In this third module, I'm going to touch on how to understand your audiences before you tell your story, before you present, and then how to engage with them when you're actually presenting, speaking, storytelling. And let me begin with a story of my own. As many of us do in publishing, we go to book fairs every year in different places in the world. One of the most popular and one of the busiest being the Frankfurt Book Fair in Germany. When I used to work for Cengage, an American publisher, and went to the Frankfurt Book Fair meetings, I always used to meet a German guy working for Amazon Germany. And I never took an interest in who he was, where he came from, personally and professionally speaking, or what he needed or wanted from us. I was only focused on my needs, my wants, and my goals. And the consequence, inevitably, was that our meetings were never very successful, and neither was the relationship. The lesson I learned from that experience over a number of years was that to be successful in business, to be successful in storytelling, you need to know your audience. And whether you are speaking to one or to many in a bigger group setting, you need to do research before you speak, before you do tell your storytelling, your story. And you need to do research before you begin your storytelling. And there are two types of research when you speak in public. One is about the group, and the other type of research is about the individuals. Researching about the group is looking into things like demographics, number of men versus women, level of education, nationality, employment, and interests both personally and professionally. What's the shape of the group as a whole? What's their identity? This is easier when you have a conference or a meeting organizer, because then you can interview the organizer to find out about all these elements. And whichever way you choose to do this, it's important to understand who you are speaking to and what their expectations are, because then it will help you decide between telling your story, telling your employers, telling both, or even telling somebody else's story or the story of somebody within the audience. In any case, understanding who they are and where they come from as a group will assist you in that story finding, story crafting, and storytelling exercise. So, first of all, research your audience as a group if you can. Secondly, if possible, and most times it is, research individual stories within the audience. There will be members of the audience who you know or you've done business with before, or people you can have access to via social media, email, or phone or meetings. Reach out to them personally, directly, and ask them about their story. Why are they coming to this meeting? Why are they coming to this event? What's the story behind their journey in publishing, in book selling, in science, in research? Understand what the individual motivation is, because then you can link some of those individual stories to the group story and your own and create a more cohesive story, a more cohesive message, and a more compelling and eloquent presentation. And on the day, and I'm moving gradually to the engaging part, more importantly, find out about them on the day when you meet them in person. I always recommend to arrive in the venue, wherever it is that you are presenting or telling your story. If it's face to face, I always recommend to arrive in the venue early to chat with people, introduce yourself, and learn about them as humans, and also obtain information that will be helpful for you, for the story you're telling on the day, and for your presentation. So understand the body, identity, the individual stories beforehand and on the day. And then moving on to the stage, the performing phase of storytelling and presenting, I'd like to touch on two key elements which are related to storytelling and to public speaking and to communication in general. The first one is body language. I know you'll enjoy this part. I'm going to simplify it. I'm going to bring it down to two sets of tools, possibly the two most powerful sets of communication tools that exist. And those are your eyes and your hands. Whenever you're telling a story, whenever you're speaking for that matter, make sure you use your eyes and your hands to make the story personal, to make the story closer to them physically. Making eye contact and using your hands will bring the story closer to their space, their body, and their experience. And also will bring, and this brings myself to the second element of engagement and dealing with audiences live, is energy. Using your eyes and your hands will bring a level of dynamism, enthusiasm, interest, hope, and expectation that will make your story precisely more interesting, more helpful, more dynamic, and just more fun and more memorable. So, whichever story you choose to tell, use your hands, use your eyes, and bring energy into it. With one caveat: energy and dynamism and a faster pace and a higher tone are useful when you're trying to create an atmosphere of drama, excitement, and opportunity. When you're trying to convey a sense of intimacy, suspense, or even maybe fear, then a lower tone and a slower pace are recommended. And there you have it. The two types of research you need to conduct before you tell your story, before you present. Research on the group as a body, and research on the individuals and their stories. And secondly, the two ingredients that you need to throw into the mix, to throw into your storytelling recipe when you go live and perform. Number one, body language, your eyes and your hands. And number two, that energy and that physicality and that excitement when you tell exciting and dynamic stories. And the more discreet, the more intimate, the lower and the slower tone when you are telling a different type of story. And before I go, I'm going to leave you with another task, a piece of homework for you to work on. Next time you have a telephone call a one-to-one meeting with someone at work, a presentation or a meeting, and I'm sure you are likely to have any and all of those within the next week. Research the people you will be speaking with. Research your audience. Find out as much as you can about them, directly or indirectly, and then check and enjoy the consequences of having that knowledge, that power, before you tell your own story. Thank you very much for listening. We're going to move on to module number 4, and I will see you very shortly.